guys, today's lesson is going to be over multiplying and dividing fractions. Our I can statement today is short and sweet. It's I can multiply and divide fractions. So our standards really aren't supposed to cover multiplying fractions because we've done that since 4th grade, but we're going to review it a little bit. These are the different ways. These are some different examples of how multiplication can be written. It can be written with an X in the middle, with like a little asterisk or a dot, or with parentheses. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. All right, to multiply numerators times numerators and denominators times denominators. Reduce answer to a mixed number in lowest terms. So multiply is easy work, the bottom and the top. All right, but here we have a whole number multiplied by a fraction. In order to multiply a whole number by a fraction, we've got to make that whole number into a fraction. So we can do that by putting a 1 underneath in the denominator because this represents a division problem. 4 divided by 1 is still 4. So 4 times 3/8. We're going to multiply straight across. We're going to multiply the numerators times the numerators and denominators times the denominators. 4 times 3 is 12. 1 times 8 is 8. Now our numerator is bigger than our denominator, which means we have an improper fraction or a fraction greater than a whole. So we have to make it into a mixed number where we have a whole number and a fraction. So to do that, we have to divide. So our top number is our dividend, and our denominator is our divisor. So how many times will 8 go into 12? It's going to go in 1 time. Make that one bigger. 1 times 8 is 8. When we subtract, we have 4 left over. We have nothing left. So our remainder becomes our numerator, and our divisor is our denominator. Okay, so now we have 1 and 4/8. But we should notice that 4/8 is not in its simplest form or its lowest terms. 4/8 can actually be reduced by 2. And so then we have 2/4. Then again, 2/4 can be reduced by 2 again, which will give us 1/4. So our final answer would be 1 and 1/4. All right, you can pause the video and you can try 2/3 times 4/5. All right, there's some extra multiplication problems. All right, let's go back to this one. All right, so here we have mixed numbers times mixed numbers. So in order to multiply these fractions, we have to make them into an improper fraction first. So I'm going to bring them down here. 3 1/5 times 2 3/4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply, then add. Multiply, then add. So 5 times 3 is 15 plus 1 is 16. Keep my denominator. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 3 is 11. Keep my denominator. And now I can multiply straight across. 16 times 11 and 5 times 3, which is 15. 16 times 11. Let's see, 16 times 11. It's going to be 176. All right, we know that this is an improper fraction, so we need to make it to a mixed number. So my final answer is going to be 11 and 11/15. All right, I want you to pause and I want you to try this problem right here, and then we're going to move into dividing fractions. All right, so let's move to division. Keep going. All right. So to divide, we have to change the division sign to a multiplication sign and then invert the second fraction and multiply. So you learned last year, keep, change, flip. Well, we have this fancy word now called a reciprocal, which means the same thing as flipping the fraction, okay? The denominator becomes the numerator and the numerator becomes the denominator. So we have 3/10 divided by 2/9. We're going to keep, change, reciprocal. So we're going to keep the first fraction the same, 3/10. We're going to change the division to multiplication, and we're going to find the reciprocal, which is basically flipping the fraction. And now we just multiply straight across. 3 times 9 and 10 times 2. 3 times 9 is 27 divided by 20. Now, once again, we have an improper fraction, so we have to look at it and go 27 divided by 20, going one time. So I have 7/20ths remain. 7 and 20 can't go any lower, so my final answer is 1 7/20. All right. Same thing here when you have a whole number. We have 7 divided by 1/3. We have to keep, change, reciprocal. We have to keep the 7, change the division to multiplication, and find the reciprocal of 1/3. Now remember we have a whole number, so remember we have to place a 1 underneath. And so now we have 7 times 3 and 1 times 1. 7 times 3 is 21 over 1, which means our final answer is 21. You can pause the video, and if you want extra practice, you can do 3/4 divided by 6/15. Alright, I'm trying to find, alright, this one right here. Let's look at 5 and 1/4 divided by 4 and 2/3. Before we do anything with fractions, you have to, especially multiplying and dividing fractions, you have to change mixed numbers into improper fractions. So we have to multiply, then add. Multiply, then add. So 4 times 5 plus 1 is 21. Keep the denominator the same. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 2 is 14. Keep my denominator, which is 3. Now we're going to keep, change, reciprocal. Keep 21/4. Change to multiplication, and the reciprocal should be 14. All right. Here's a trick here that we try to learn. It's cross-canceling. I quickly noticed that 21 and 14 share a factor of 7, so I'm going to divide both of those by 7. 21 divided by 7 is 3. 14 divided by 7 is 2, so now I have smaller numbers to work with. 3 times 3 and 4 times 2. 3 times 3 gives me 9. 4 times 2 gives me 8. When I divide, 9 divided by 8, 8 will go into 9 one time. When I subtract 1, my remainder is now my numerator, and my divisor is my denominator. So my final answer is 1 1/8. All right. Let's look at a word problem real quick. It says, how many 1/5 cup servings are in 3/4 of a cup of ice cream? Okay, how many 1/5 cup servings are in 3/4 of a cup of ice cream? So this is kind of difficult, tricky to think about, okay? Let's change the numbers real quick. What if I change this number to a whole number 2, and I change this whole number into a whole number of 10? Let's read it this way. How many 2-cup servings are in 10 of a cup, are in a 10 cups of a cup of ice cream? Okay, so let's say we have how many 2 cups can we get out of a tub that has 10 cups in it? Okay, so you would do division. You do 10 divided by 2, and you know you would have 5 servings. So same thing here. It's a division problem. You have to take your whole, which is 3/4, and divide it by your part. So 3/4 divided by 1/5. We keep, change, reciprocal. We're going to keep 3/4, change division to multiplication. The reciprocal is going to be 5/1. Now we have 3 times 5, which is 15. 4 times 1, which is 4. Okay, we're going to convert this to a mixed number. 15 divided by 4. 4 going to 15 3 times, which makes 12. Divide, we have 3/4 left over. So your final answer is there are 3 3/4 cup servings. And that is how we multiply and divide fractions.